Okay, I think we're recording. Good to go. So hopefully everyone is doing well. And a note, let's just, before we get to the questions, and again, type your questions now so it can flow if you have them. And if something comes up as I'm speaking, obviously you can type it then too. But I have this question first to go over. But before we get to that, let's talk about the general market dynamics that's going on. So we saw Bitcoin almost go to 10,000 recently. And my general kind of spiel, I think it was in the server, it might have been on one of the videos recently, was that zoom out, just zoom out, just zoom out. Don't get too freaked out about trend. And, you know, yes, we acknowledged when it was trending down from 20,000 euphoria all the way down to 6,000 and then hovering in that range, you know, for a little bit. We're not saying it was an up market and everything was looking up, but for the most part, we'll look back and be like, oh man, all of this was kind of on the lower end of things. So just remember to zoom out. Storm, if people are in the server, we're still chilling in Storm. And I think I'm going to try to come up with some way to differentiate between when I think you should put a large portion of your portfolio, or trading portfolio, I should say, you know, or if you want to invest, Storm is still good, but we're looking more short, medium term for the Storm play. When I think it'd be worthwhile to put a large portion of that into a play like that, as opposed to some of these things where we jump in, maybe take 10, 20%, maybe take a loss, 10, 20%, and, you know, get out relatively quickly. So Storm is one of these things where there's a reason there hasn't been a ton of signals, is I've just been chilling in it since about 400 something. And I continue to, because it's just easier this way. I don't really have to worry about a lot of things, have some other stuff, other places. But, you know, in terms of actively moving around, I'm pretty comfortable doing this. So with that said, let's get to the first question. Every coin has a website. Often they look pretty good, and all the white papers are compelling. I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit how to judge the merits of a project team and how that informs your strategy. That's a great question that comes from Bathlith. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to analyze projects and coins. I think I almost always use the community metric above all others. I think it has to be in place. It doesn't mean that if they have a good community, it's going to succeed or it is a good project by definition. It just means that that has to be there. So if you see a community and it's just like in total disarray. And I would make a distinction here when we're talking about Bitcoin and like Bitcoin Cash. Like Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Most of the people who believe in real Bitcoin, you know, may argue about technical parameters and different things, be maximalists or whatever it is. But for the most part, believe in Bitcoin, and there's not a lot of contention that this is a good project. So I think you want to look for some sense of unity and also the ability to see discourse, you know, different perspectives engaged without things getting really contentious and awful. And you have to remember that we're living in like a mimetic culture, so you can see things on Reddit or wherever, which is why I typically say don't go on Reddit. You know, you can see things, people get very nasty very quickly, get very defensive. It's happened to me. I remember when VeChain was spiking in December, you know, someone in another server said something about VeChain. Yeah, I think they were trying to poke the bear a little bit and get a rise out of me, and I took the bait and I got upset. I'm like, I don't know, like, why am I getting upset over a coin? You know, like personally upset about this. It's not worth it. So in terms of gauging, though, the merits of a project, this is like the do your own research type of thing. And I'm not saying that as a trite kind of platitude. I'm saying that everyone has different ways of looking at something and coming to different confidence levels. For me, I use primarily resources and people I trust. So I will very often use people I follow on Twitter to see if their opinions line up with mine, to see if what they've said over the course and period of time. I'll often look in other servers, not too many, but to go around and gauge what's going on. And almost it goes without saying, if I hold a large position in something, I'm almost always on their Discord. And I kind of like projects with an active Discord. Telegram, I don't use that much. And it hasn't served me wrong. It hasn't really done me a disservice. And I know there's a lot of popular Telegram groups, and they're just platforms, so there's nothing inherently better than the other. But I really like the Discord communities. I think you can do some cool stuff, and I think it's a kind of different breed of person who hangs out here. Doesn't mean they're good. Totally shitty people, right? We just saw this whole pump and dump attempt by CryptoGat and all these other clowns who got in recently. And that's the thing to remember with all this is like, you're probably pretty new if you're in this server. Maybe you've been around for a little bit. Maybe like, I know there are some people in here who've had Bitcoin, at least, since 2013 and before. But, there are always people who are coming in and thinking they know better. And I think just a really good metric for gauging whether it's a project or an influencer or a trader or whatever it is, just see how they act. Like, can they handle doing well? Can they handle not doing well? Are they mean to other people for no reason? Are they, those are important things. Because, like, it's not hard, despite what you may see online, it's not hard not to just react publicly to someone on like Twitter or just a public forum. It's just really easy not to. It's not that hard. Just don't do it. Like, it shouldn't be hard. So getting back to the merits of a project, I will do fundamental research, right? The merits of a project, I'll go look at basic market caps, area, of focus, supply, is it a proof of work? What are the dynamics of the economic system, the governance system? How long has it been around? Who's involved? Is it a not, like all of these, you got to do that basic shit. If you're building a bag and packing a bag, and when I say packing a bag, I mean, really loading up, investing, saying I'm comfortable to hold this for a year, 2 years, 3 years, because I really think this thing has a chance of doing well. If you have to do your research on those things, because you will inevitably let's use what happened this week. For those of you who don't know, a lot of people were caught in a Telegram channel, a lot of influencers talking about potentially buying up and manipulating the price of Haven. And Haven is something I've mentioned in this server. XHV is the symbol. And, they were talking about they're going to pump it and they're going to get everyone in, they're going to manipulate the price and they're going to dump on everyone, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Truthfully, the math, I don't think they were able to do it. They're small-time players. But it took immediate dump because people saw that, this potentially was going on. Meanwhile, I researched it before I bought it. I didn't go to Trade Ogre just to buy some shit because someone on the internet told me to. That's not a good strategy. It could work out. I'm not saying like there are people who probably made a fuckload of money by just buying stuff from people telling them to do it on Twitter. Truthfully, if follow the right people, it probably works. However, you need some other confidence, at least in my opinion, to do well. So when Haven dumped, I was like, all right, I'm not going to buy more because I'm spread out too thin with other investments, but I'm certainly not selling it. Like, nothing changed about the fundamentals. These schmucks were going to try to pump and dump it. So, yeah, I also use like intuition. Sometimes I'll get in a trade. I'll just be like, whether this is born out of my research or community or whatever, I'll just be like, all right, you know what? This feels right. This feels like a winner. And if it turns out that it didn't and it wasn't a winner, I'll remember that and I'll be like, well, I won't trust that so, unbiasedly, without a doubt, questioning it next time. However, if you do this enough, sometimes you just like kind of know, like, oh yeah, this is right. I see something before other people see them. The market is set up for the way for this makes sense. I've been paying attention long enough. So there's a lot of different things. All right. That was a long answer to a pretty simple question. Sorry. Next question, Fritzy. Most of my investment is holding, but I'd like to build a trading stack using what little I have from Bitcoin and BNB. My goal is to learn how to get $500 in passive income per month and how to build my Satoshis. Good. Guess my question is good plan. I'm ready to start following the signal, so maybe Storm or Haven. Yeah, so $500 a month in passive income, you're giving me one part of the equation. And, I can't go into specific, consulting for this call, but you really need to, the other part of the equation is how much are you putting in? How much do you have to start with? And how much do you have to work to get your passive income, quote unquote? If you're just sticking it in Storm and it goes up 5 times, if you started with $10,000, that's probably enough passive income. You've done it, so it really depends on how much you're willing to put in, how much you can afford to put in, how much you can afford to lose, how comfortable psychologically you're going to put in. Yeah, a teeny amount. I mean, you're going to have to work a little bit, a teeny amount, $50 to turn $50 into $500 a month in passive income. Let's say you're starting for a year. So you need $50 to multiply, a lot, 10 times just for 1 month. So that 10x is 1 month, and you need that 12 times. So I think you should probably reassess how much passive quote unquote, trading income. I don't consider trading passive income. I consider something like master nodes or staking if the economics work out, or maybe something like Thor. That's passive income. Truly, you can sit back and do nothing. Knowing when to move into trades, when to take profits, when not to take profits, that's hardly passive. So I guess that's not really, a great thing. Passive meaning getting fiat. Well, I don't really know what that means. You mean cashing out? I cash out every month, sometimes multiple times a month. There's no real such thing as passive income if you're talking about trading. If you're talking about investing, you shouldn't be pulling out monthly unless you have a big enough stack where that's the percentage you can be taking out. Like if you had, I don't know, let's hypothetically say $20,000 in a trading stack, you could probably pull out $500 a month pretty comfortably every month. Maybe making a move or two, depending on market dynamics and all of that. But, the smaller amount, the more you have to work, or the more you have to get in something that's going to have a high potential of going 10 times, 100 times, something like that. Something every month. I mean, it's going to be a smaller percentage of what it is. So if you're starting with $500 to play with, I would say maybe you could think about pulling out, if you're doing a good job, maybe, I don't know, $50 to $100 a month would be on the high end, 10 to 20%. That's work though. It's not nothing. You're not, you could just stick it in Storm or something this past month and double up and everything and pull a little bit out. But it's not always that easy. Now, when the market really just rears its head and just things are going up and crazy and oh my God, and Bitcoin and all this stuff, then you'll know. It won't be hard to probably get $500 a month, even from a teeny amount. But right now, that's not what's going on. I think this will dovetail. I looked a little bit ahead at the next question. Clydesdale posted. This was posted. Has anyone thought about the fact that last alt season, the price of Bitcoin was a lot higher? So this time around, people are accumulating more Bitcoin at a much lower price. Makes me wonder what kind of effect it will have on this alt season if Bitcoin's movement is more reserved and stays around 10,000. Possibly much larger gains for some alts. ? I think we're already seeing it with a few coins, but seems like others are waiting for Bitcoin to confirm the bull trend. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, it depends what you think Bitcoin is going to do. I've given my predictions. I think it's going to go up. I think it's going to go up over the spring. I don't think it's going to hit an all-time high by the end of the spring or summer. It could, but it's also going to go down. It's not a straight line. So it's going to go up, it's going to go down. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. That's just how shit works. It's like not a straight line. Even very rare is that parabolic curve that we saw in November, December. Now, that's not alt season. Alt season is when alts begin to gain Satoshi value and hopefully US dollar value. You're trying to sync those two things up. And I think we're pre-alt season here. Some of the stronger coins are doing well. Cough, cough, Storm. EOS is doing great. I don't know that the price of Bitcoin, in terms of it juicing or not juicing the alts. I think we're also dealing with something that we can look back at previous alt seasons and also look at Bitcoin's price, but understand that a lot of these projects, when I say a lot, a dozen, maybe at most a few dozen, really have some viability and can utilize some aspect of blockchain technology in a particular industry and have partnerships and whatever other things they're actually going to need to utilize blockchain, as opposed to a database, which anyone could use for a lot of these things. We're seeing them really, really kind of integrate into the rest of the financial sector. So it's kind of hard to say what is going to happen. But I do think we're seeing a level of confidence. A good thing to look at if you're not worrying about, but thinking about what the dynamics of the market is. The total market cap, while not exactly accurate, but will give you some sense of how much money is flowing in and out. And the other thing to pay attention to, I'm not a stocks guy, I'm not traditional investment guy, but have some idea what traditional markets are doing. That's money that people have to put into the market. And I don't think they're a diverging correlation at this point. They're not an inverse correlation. So if the stock market goes down, people aren't fleeing to crypto just yet. I think eventually there's a good chance of that happening if Bitcoin in particular is viewed as a store of value, a la gold, digital gold or something like that. But we're not there yet. So, have some awareness of what's going on in the rest of the world. If the world breaks out in a nuclear war, probably not worrying too much about the price of Bitcoin. Maybe we're super worrying about it because global economy has collapsed. Anyway, not worrying about either of those two things. Probably not going to happen. just to get back to this one question about alt season. Alt season, I've declared it, right? And I have, as the official declarer of alt season, just means, at least for our practical purposes, is there are going to be coins that we can identify that are poised to do well, both in terms of Bitcoin value and dollar value. And you know, you're going to see when it's really fucking alt season and everything, the whole market is going up together, even if they're bleeding in Satoshis a little bit, you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff that to potentially choose from. But people are still a little bit scared. I'm seeing this quite a bit, a lot of fear from people. They want this stuff to just go up forever. And once it goes up, they want it to stay up. And it's just not realistic for and you don't, like, after a while, you want to see this kind of up and down and up and down. And if you want to lament, you know, not trading the top so you can get more in the bottom, I think that's probably the time to start really looking into some aspect of technical analysis and channel trading. I don't do that. It's a hassle. It's not worth it. I don't even really believe in most of it. I think it works because people think it works. So I just try to find things that feel comfortable. And Fritzy, back to your question, just with like what you're calling passive income. I don't call it passive income. Let's just say liquid, something that you can pull out without it really affecting your stack. Hopefully your gains are bigger than what you've taken out. That's a great goal. That's a really, really good goal. And if you can get that number up to what you're getting paid at a job and you're factoring in taxes and all the other things, I think that's what a lot of us are kind of hoping can be possible. And I think it's been possible for me so far, God willing. And I think it's possible for a lot of people because the economics of this say if this asymmetric bet is as accurate or as real as we potentially think it is, we're in really good shape. We're super early, very, very early. So that's very important. Just remember your perspective. Remember have some clear goals. Be realistic about those goals. If you have $50 and are trying to be able to pull out $500 a month, that requires a 10x or 5. You know, it's just you have to be realistic about potentially finding those types of things within a certain period of time. Could Haven go 10x? Could it go 100x? Sure. Could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years, could be never, could crash. So it's like you can't just be like, I'm not going to leave. I've been sitting in Storm for a long time, but I'm not just going to sit in it forever. I'm going to sell. I have targets. I put them in the signal channel. I'm going to sell at those targets. Don't prices right me. I'm not worried about it. But, you know, you have to have a plan for these things. And really the most important thing, the only answer I have for any of this is you have to have some ability to do your own research to develop the confidence for why you're moving into things. It is great when someone on the internet or a Discord server tells you buy this, it's really good, and it's great if that works. And it's great if there's someone you can trust like me who's not going to continuously try to screw you over like some other people. That said, like, I cannot be right all the time. I also cannot tell you all of my thought processes all of the time. I'm not just, you're not plugged into the mainframe of my brain. So you want to also be able to do your own research. And maybe I suggest something, you go, you know what? I was looking at that very same thing and I disagree here, here, and here. That conversation, that discourse would benefit everyone. So that's really the main answer. The only answer I have for this is develop some protocol, some system for what you're looking at. Again, like I've mentioned in other calls, I don't look at other people's stuff. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't read blogs and YouTube videos, any of that stuff, because it's noise to me. Even if it's super accurate, I just find it to be distracting and noisy and influence my own decisions. I'm a Twitter guy. And I will mute or unfollow people if their content gets emotional, off kilter, too egocentric. You know, those are red flags for me. I like to find easy breezy. You know, we've been doing this. Let's find some level of equanimity. This doesn't have to be insane. Let's be polite to each other. That type of vibe. And that exists in crypto. And that's what we're trying to cultivate and kind of keep around us. Okay. Rico, I see a question. Potentially. I see you typing. Doesn't mean this is a question. Have you posted your Twitter recommendation somewhere? Follow who I follow on Twitter. I have a list, but it's not up to date. But if you follow who I follow, and like the newer people might just be people I'm testing out. But for the most part, those people are good. There's one or two who I may eliminate. And you should be able to sense them. Some of them just, if they're not right and they're on the fence right now, you'll know why. It's because they're not aligning with how those other people on my list are approaching this stuff. And you want differing opinions. I have Bitcoin maximalists. I have Bitcoin skeptics. I have Ethereum maximalists. I have Ethereum skeptics. I have all altcoin believers, altcoin haters. You want a lot of different perspectives on this stuff. So you can, my username is Noah Lampert. Go figure. So, yeah, I basically, that's a really good resource for me. And like, I know also how to read through the bullshit. Like sometimes these people I follow like will just be wrong or say something that's just wrong, but I don't hold it. If I know that because of my other research or my own, findings, then I can say, okay, it's not a big deal. So it's not just like you can't get the blueprint from people. I'm trying to do the closest thing possible with this server, which is here are things you can just blindly follow, like my friends, like just blindly follow these things because I'm pretty sure they're going to work out and I'm not planning on getting fucked. And therefore I can tell you about them confidently. That's one thing I'm trying to do, but also just like really encouraging people that this is very early on. The more you can learn about it, especially when things are low, look at this like an opportunity. This is great that Bitcoin isn't at $20,000, $50,000, $100,000. You could do. Who in here can afford a full Bitcoin at $100,000? Just to buy, we'll buy, take one, please. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know where I got off on that tangent. That's it. Any other questions we have here? I have to check YouTube. I don't think. Oh, yeah, there are people. Cool. Holy shit. Scum slowly rises to the top. Something that's weird happens with everything on money. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I guess that's a weird take on things. Should I invest in Dogecoin? No. Yeah, I guess. Dogecoin will probably go up. I mean, it has utility. It's a very small denomination of Bitcoin, and you can use it for a lot of different things. Doge pairing. I don't own any Dogecoin, but when the time is right, probably pick up some. Do you think that Obamacare is overrated due to its lack of insurance? Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm reading these questions. Obamacare, I don't know. Please answer. Hi. How do you feel about Ethereum Classic? I like Ethereum Classic. I don't own any. I was trading it when things were going down. It was going up. There was an airdrop. Was it Callisto? And I like it. Their governance model is pretty cool. I've interacted with a few people who are deeply plugged into Ethereum Classic, and I think it's a worthwhile thing. So, I mean, I don't own any. I'm not actively I'm super high on it, but I'm kind of low on Ethereum, and I think Ethereum is going to continue to go up in price. I think it has clear value there, but problems with Ethereum. All right, another question here in Discord. Sorry if noob question. Have you explained tiers in your signals? If there's 3 tiers, how to interpret that? Oh, those are just targets. Listen, I try to give 3 different levels. This is common. You'll see when people are putting out signals or just, 3 different potential areas where you could take your profits. Now, you could take a percentage at each of those. You could say, hey, I don't think this is going to go any higher. I've hit 20%, so that's great. So look at it like that. Obviously, the higher the tier, the more it has to go up to hit those. So that's just what we're talking about, Discord specific, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I often don't give sell targets. One is because if you are investing in these things and accumulating them, it's okay, even if they go down. There's something to maybe look at the price, and I give a price that I think is a decent entry relative to the market at that time, and hopefully it goes up, and usually they go up. But for the most part, I don't sell things that I am saying this is not, if I'm saying short or midterm trade, I'm probably going to sell that stuff, at some point. I'm not holding it for a long time, but outside of that, I'm holding this stuff. I'm holding this Storm. Let me put it this way with Storm. Even if it hits the top target, 1,300, which is, could take a month, 2 months, whatever it is, I will still hold some Storm. Storm ever hits a ridiculous actual dollar value, why wouldn't you? And I think that's important. If you stumble upon something and you like it, always hold a little bit of it. Because even if it's $10 worth, think if you had Ethereum when it was $9, and you're I'm going to sell a whole bunch of this. It's I can make a bunch of money and sell 1,000 of them. It's a decent amount of money. I'll keep 100. And now all of a sudden it's $600. I not so bad. And that's not like that. You have to know if there's really a chance of that happening. But I guarantee not a lot of people knew that ant shares that turned into Neo was going to be as profitable as it was over the past couple of years. So, just keep that in mind. Perspective, zoom out. If you like this stuff, hold a little bit. When I say a little bit, enough that if it goes up, you'll be like, all right, this is actually worth something. Pretty cool. All right. Any other questions? Vajra Fox, I see. Yeah, no problem, man. Man, allergies, right? What's up with this? So I can't really afford to put much fiat in, but I have been getting around 0.01 Bitcoin or 0.1 ETH whenever possible. Is this worth it? Yeah. Great plan. What do you think people were doing when it was $20,000? They were buying whatever they could get if they thought it was going to keep going on. I know people bought the top too. 0.01 Bitcoin at a time, I think is a really cool idea. I think that if you look at it like I'm buying 0.01 Bitcoin, like $90, 89, whatever it is, and you're like, I need this to double so I can have $180. Probably not the right reason to do it. If you're like, hey, man, I think Bitcoin might be worth $1 million one day, 0.01 Bitcoin is certainly a good thing to be buying at these prices. That's like that regular buy, which is averaging depending on where the price is as you're doing it, is a really good investing strategy for something that you think is going to go up, in the crypto space. So that is a very good strategy. Yeah. And it's totally worth it. Like, it's worth it if it's not like screwing you every month or whenever you can do it. Think of what we spend money on. I don't spend money on a lot of stuff. This just happened to hit my cross section of good opportunities for Noah Lampert. I don't buy shit. I spend money on food. I don't buy clothes. I rarely, but I'll buy electronic, music gear once in a blue moon. So this is, what else would I be spending my money on? I have a kid and a family, besides bills. This is this is a good thing to spend money on. It's better than I don't know. What do people spend money on? What do people spend money on that they like doing? Buying shit. I don't know. I don't really do that. So, it's certainly, I think it's better to put it in something like Bitcoin. Weed. Yeah. I feel you on that. Flasher Fox. Yeah. I mean, instead of buying an ounce, buy 20 grams of weed and put the rest in Bitcoin. And then you can buy way more later. So yeah, cut your weed costs down. Listen, hopefully it's legal in enough places soon and we don't have to worry about that shit and we can all just grow our own. Okay. I think I'm going to clip it there with the weed growing our own talk in the future. Come on, Cuomo, legalize this. I'm going to vote for Cynthia Nixon, Sex in the City. Let's do this. All right, everyone.